Hi and welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Vince. Thanks for stopping by. You're very welcome here indeed. So if you do watch the channel regularly, you will know I have a mild addiction to coffee, and therefore studies that look into coffee consumption, its health benefits, longevity benefits, and also its effects on the diseases of aging are of particular interest to me. This latest study looks into not only ground coffee, but also decaffeinated and instant coffee too. It also looks at what happens with regard to unfavourable outcomes for those who do drink coffee regularly and those who don't drink coffee regularly. Enough waffling off me, let's jump into the presentation and let's see what this new study that covers ground, decaffeinated and instant coffee with regard to cardiovascular disease has got to offer.
This is a review of a piece that was penned by David Neild, which looked into research published in the European Journal of Preventative Cardiology that analysed just under 500,000 people who drink 2 to 3 cups of coffee each day. The results showed that they tended to live longer and presented less cardiovascular disease when compared to those who had abstained from drinking coffee. And there are links in the description below to the study and the articles I used to put this presentation together. Now, while the research doesn't claim that drinking more coffee adds years to your life, so an increase in lifespan, it's nevertheless an intriguing association that scientists are keen to investigate further, as it does point towards an uptick in healthspan. It's also important to weigh up the findings against previous studies that link some brain shrinkage and an increased risk of dementia for those who consume more than 6 cups of coffee each and every day. Professor Peter Kistler of the Baker Heart and Diabetes Institute in Australia said, in this large observational study, ground, instant and decaffeinated coffee were associated with equivalent reductions in the incidence of cardiovascular disease and death from cardiovascular disease or any cause. The results suggest that mild to moderate intake of ground, instant and decaffeinated coffee should be considered part of a healthy lifestyle. Let's take a look at the cohort. They were drawn from the UK's Biobank study. In this study, the sample provided an average of 12.5 years worth of health and dietary information on 449,563 people with a median age of 58. The UK's Biobank is a large-scale database containing over 500,000 records on individuals' genetics and health and lifestyle markers. The participants were grouped according to their daily consumption of coffee. The groups were split into types of coffee that they usually drank. So ground coffee, instant coffee and decaffeinated, with just over 100,000 people reporting that they didn't drink coffee at all. As part of the analysis, the researchers also factored in confounding factors such as age, sex, ethnicity, obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, obstructive sleep apnea, smoking status, and tea and alcohol consumption. The team then computed the differences in heart health outcomes and death from all cause for all coffee drinkers over the study period of 12.5 years. This was then compared to those who didn't drink coffee at all. Drinking instant, ground and even decaffeinated coffee were all associated with a lower likelihood of death. Those who drank 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day had better odds of living longer than those who didn't drink coffee at all. Professor Kistler went on to say, caffeine is the most well-known constituent in coffee, but the beverage contains more than 100 biologically active components. It's likely that the non-caffeinated compounds were responsible for the positive relationships observed between coffee drinking, cardiovascular disease, and survival. Digging deeper, the team found coffee consumption was also linked with the development of cardiovascular disease, with the lowest risk seen amongst those who consumed 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day. There were slightly different findings associated with the risk of arrhythmia and an abnormal heart rhythm too. Here, ground and instant coffee, but not decaffeinated, were linked to a lower likelihood of developing the condition. Once again, it seems as though 2 to 3 cups a day is the sweet spot. That this study covered so many people over such an extended period only adds weight to the link between coffee drinking and longevity. However, there are some limitations that do need to be considered. The database records reflected predominantly Caucasian participants, making it harder to generalize the findings across a more ethnically diverse population. Coffee drinking was also self-reported rather than monitored, and the database doesn't factor in changes in coffee consumption or coffee type over the period of the study. That said, looking at this research and other studies I've covered over the years, in my humble opinion, chances are coffee certainly appears to be good for you when you're drinking between 2 or 3 cups per day. Professor Kistler closed by saying, "Our findings indicate that drinking modest amounts of coffee of all types should not be discouraged, but can be enjoyed as a heart-healthy behaviour."
Well, I hope you found that interesting or informative, hopefully both. I've made some notes and I apologise for looking down as I read them. So yet another study showing that 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day is indeed good for you, especially when it comes to preventing cardiovascular disease. And good that another study has covered decaf and caffeinated coffee together and looking at the benefits of both separately, because I drink decaf in the afternoon. If I drink fully caffeinated coffee after about 3 o'clock, it does disrupt my sleep quite noticeably. Let me know in the comments below what kind of coffee you drink, whether or not it's decaf or ground. If you do drink instant, you can tell me that too. Also, with the mounting number of studies that are now coming forward showing the benefits of coffee and caffeine with regard to longevity and fending off the diseases of aging, are you considering drinking coffee as part of your longevity lifestyle? Bear in mind the confounding factors with this. These studies are normally talking about coffee and in the main caffeine. It becomes counterproductive if you start to add things to it. Things such as skimmed milk, sugar, creamers, and a whole host of flavorings that are now available. They will probably negate some of the positive effects. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. As always, please take care, stay safe, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.